The Jesuits have a lot of communication that goes on with the Trappists, for example. The Trappists are the monastic group that do a lot of the meditation and stuff. The Jesuits have a whole different form of meditation with the Ignatian spiritual exercises that we do.
And it goes beyond governments to what you said earlier, and we kind of got off it, but it's it's perfect to tie the bow all together here. You know, you're talking about religions too. You're talking about any cultural organizations that could exist around the world that have some sort of belief system. They all have to get on board with whatever disclosure
That's right.
will happen here. And you said something about you've been to the Vatican. Did you say you went into the Vatican archives?
No. I've talked to Johann. I've talked to Johann Ix, who runs the archives now, because I've been over there a number of times, and so he came to see me the last time I was over there and wanted me to write an article, a letter to the editor of the New York Times, recommending that they open the Vatican archives on Pope Pius XII, who's the one that signed the Concordat with the Nazis. And all that, because they want to be able to get a look at that and allow researchers to look at that. So
you read Gerald Posner's book, Vatican Bankers.
Yeah,
wild shit.
Yeah. It's all the stuff about Roberto Calvi and Sindona, and I know all those guys. I was the one who was supposed to interview Cardinal Sindona or Cardinal Marcinkus. They were thinking of allowing him to leave the Vatican. They didn't ultimately, but I was supposed to debrief him as the Jesuit headquarters. So I know all about those guys, and Propaganda Due and Lucio Jalli and that whole crowd of Propaganda Due, the 33rd degree Masonic Lodge. I spend all our time focusing on these things.
That's for another podcast. We'll be here all night if we do that. But what just in general, do you think within the Vatican archives, which is basically like some of the most historical religious stuff that it could exist in the world, and is also run by something that is effectively like the world's first intelligence organization, being the Vatican.
Yeah.
Like, do you think they're holding back a lot of information that could be contradictory to some of their beliefs that involve extraterrestrials in those archives?
It's not exactly contradictory to their beliefs, other than the false assertions that they developed during the Middle Ages, where they tried to pretend that Jesus was some absolutely unique event, that this was more than he was a mutation of what's happening in our human family, that we're evolving teleologically, these other skills, and in other adepts and other religions have displayed the same kind of siddha, of the being able to materially manifest things, to levitate, heal people with their hands, etc. These are qualities that our human family has, and they're going to have to come clean about that. But I'm sure that they have information about the UFO histories that they have, because I asked for it, and when Johann called me in and asked me to write this letter to the editor of the New York Times about Pius XII, he said, if there's anything I could ever do for you, I said, you know what I want you to do for us, because I've already written to you before. And he said, yeah, what else? He says that one isn't going to work right now, So he hasn't agreed to let me see the stuff yet.
Could be interesting to see how they come around with it, but
the church is going to land on its feet. Francis is the first Jesuit in history that's been the Pope now, and he's been working very, very hard to try to bring them up into the 21st century. This is a very, very major issue, though.
Yeah.
But the statement that they made, is an opening for the conversation that we have to have.
Well, you said earlier that the word religion comes from religare.
Relinking.
And then the word for intellect comes from intellectus?
Intellectus, the ability to distinguish the difference between.
Right. So distinguishing the difference between, to separate out ideas, and then relinking intellect, religion, science, religion. science is something we associate with imagery of test tubes and math and shit like that. Religion is something we associate with kneel, stand, pray to God, whatever.
Yeah.
But at their core, they're both trying to figure out whatever laws or known ideas exist within our world,
That's
or
right.
by extension our universe, to get to the very core meaning of life.
That's
and
right.
so it's very strange that throughout our human history and our little speck here in the galaxy, those two things have found a way to constantly be at war, when in reality they are intertwined completely by word and everything.
It's part of the projection of the dialectic. It's the second paradigm worldview. It's rooted in the second chakra. It's a whole chakra energy thing of kind of setting up bipolar aspects of reality. Good guys versus bad guys, red team. I mean, look at the training that we get here in our country. This intense. I mean, we put individual human beings in cages and have them fight until one of them, gets knocked unconscious. We have red team and blue team in football where they smash into each other as hard as they can, fighting over a ball going up and down the field, or bouncing a ball down and sticking it in the basket, baseball whack. There's an incredible training that goes on in the second paradigm of this dialectical binary bifurcation of reality. What it is a projection onto our culture of an experience that we experience deep in the center of our intellect. And our intellect is what is given us the sense that we're separate and apart from everything else. That we're riding around up here behind our eyeballs, kind of looking out on the rest of the world, and we're trying to figure out how to get control over it and how to manipulate it and how we can have a binary relationship with it. And it's a very intense trap that we're caught in here. And we've got to unplug this particular second chakra, and we got to kind of open up our sacral chakra and open up our heart chakra. We've got to, this is all known. There are scientific techniques to do this. The Buddhists know about it. The Hindus know about it. We've got to get that information shared over back into the Catholic laity. The people know about it in the monasteries. There's all kinds of these monastic monks that kind of levitate and do all these weird things in the monasteries, and these are the ones that kind of make observations about ethics and moral, because they're at a higher level of consciousness, and so that this is a kind of the engine behind the kind of theology of the church, etc. So that the Jesuits have a lot of communication that goes on with the Trappists, for example. The Trappists are the monastic group that do a lot of the meditation and stuff. The Jesuits have a whole different form of meditation with the Ignatian spiritual exercises that we do, that are different than the Buddhist type of meditation. But I came in under Pedro Arrupe. Pedro Arrupe was the superior general of the Jesuits when I was there, and he was an avid anti-fascist, Spanish Basque, a surgeon, medical doctor actually, who became a Jesuit priest back in the late 1920s, and he was preaching from the pulpit against Franco in Mussolini, in Hitler, and they actually put out a contract to have him killed. And turns out one of the three guys that was assigned to the team to kill Pedro Arrupe felt so bad about it that he went to confession. Confessed. He said, "I feel like terrible if I've been ordered to kill this priest." And so the guy says, "Like, what priest is this?" And he says, "It's this Pedro Arrupe guy that's going around, condemning, Mussolini and Franco." And so the priest then, after the confession, he goes to his bishop and said, "I got a real problem here. I've got a guy in a confession saying that they're going to try to kill this Pedro Arrupe." And so they called the provincial. The bishop called the provincial and said, "There's a team that's going to try to kill Pedro Arrupe. You've got to get him out of here." And so they took him out of Spain and they put him in a monastery. And it turns out that it was a Buddhist monastery. Where they hit him out, and Pedro became a Buddhist monk, and actually the monastery where they had him hidden was in Hiroshima.
Oh,
and
my God.
he was there when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. He was up in the mountains in the
he
monastery.
lived?
Well, he was up in the hills in the mountains, and it knocked in the monastery and caved it in. But when he woke up, the first thing he saw was the clock all frozen in time, and he crawled out from the wreckage and brought the other monks down into Hiroshima and helped lead the people out from under the mushroom cloud. That's true. That's Pedro Arrupe of the Jesuit order.
Whoa.
And he led them back up into the hills, and as a medical doctor, attended to all these people,
Of course, because
and,
he's a doctor
and
too.
became dedicated to trying to eliminate nuclear weapons. And so when John the 23rd convened the Second Vatican Council in 1960, he asked Pedro Arrupe to be the head of the Committee on Ecumenical Relations with other religions, because he was a Buddhist monk as well. And so what he did was there in Rome when the previous superior general died of the Jesuits. And so that John the 23rd recommended Pedro to be the new head of the Jesuit order, which is usually the kiss of death, because they'll never pick a guy to be the head of the Jesuits who's handpicked by the Pope. And so that he had no chance of winning, except that Cardinal Villot, who was the Secretary of State under Pius XII, who signed the Concordat with the fascists, who was a fascist, Vichy French fascist guy. And so Cardinal Villot went to the conclave of the Jesuit provincials that had all been called into Rome to pick a new superior general. He kept going around to them, buttonholing them and saying, "You can't vote for this Arrupe guy. He's a communist. He opposed Franco." and they all started saying, "Oh, really?" And so they started saying, "Well, maybe we better have another look at this guy." And they turned around and they chose him to be the new superior general of the Jesuits. This is 1960. 62 actually, and
then you come in.
So they come back to the Jesu, which is just like half a block away from the Vatican Basilica, the big Jesuit headquarters, and all 100 of provincials come in waiting to have a little soiree, drinking whiskey and having hors d'oeuvres and sitting and meeting the guy, and they come into the Jesu and all the furniture's gone, and all they have is like 100 Zafu pillows all sitting there waiting for the provincials, and here's Pedro sitting in kind of this Zen meditation waiting for them, and they all come in and they have to take off their shoes and sit down on these Zafu pillows, and when they get there, he kind of opens his eyes like this and he says, "I have been and I've seen the end times," he said. He said, "We are on the brink of thermonuclear destruction of our entire planet," he said. "And our job as the largest order in the Catholic Church, and assigned from 1547 to reform the Catholic Church, our job is to daily take steps to disassemble the structural sources of injustice, both in Western civilization and in Eastern civilization. And this is going to be your obligation every single day, equal to your obligation to preach the Mass every day." And he gave it right to him just like that. And that was Pedro. And Pedro Arrupe became the head of the Superior General. And he's the one that was in charge when John Kennedy decided that he was going to try to disassemble the nuclear warheads along with Khrushchev. And that's the one who helped broker getting John the 23rd to be the guy that was going to broker that deal to get rid of these nuclear weapons. And that's what we've got to do. I mean, this is a key thing that we're going to have to save our human family from this 0.1% of the human family that has decided that they're going to use thermonuclear threat to destroy the entire world to maintain their continued privileged access to these strategic raw materials. That we know this is what's going on the planet, and that we've got to take steps to undo this, and we've got to use every single tool that we have in the democratic system while we still have it to organize our people, educate our people, mobilize our people, get a bill like this passed, get the right people put on that panel, and start to disclose this information right away so we can prepare our people and we can take the measures necessary to disassemble those nuclear warheads. We've got to do this right away. Otherwise, we're going to have an intervention. We're going to have an intervention, and the people are not ready for this intervention yet because they've been denied the truth of it even existing. So we've got to do both things. We've got to educate the people, let them know that this is true, take every measure that we can to disassemble the nuclear warheads, and prepare our people for a potential intervention, which is in the offing right now. They've got huge amounts of stuff going on in Sedona right now. They've got they saw 20 of these major triangles rise coming out of Sedona just last week. all with the United States military transports all around them, So there's something really going on.
Something's going on.
Something's going on, and people better get ready for it.
Well, Danny Sheehan, to be continued. This has been a wild 2 days, 2 great podcasts together. I really appreciate you making the time to do this twice, and you blew my mind with some things. So I know a lot of people out there are getting their mind blown too. You are the founder of the New Paradigm Institute and also the Romero Institute, which you are a part of both. So we will have those links down below. But thank you so much for sharing so much today, and we'll have to do this again, sir.
Yeah, just get people just to contact us. It's the newparadigminstitute.org. They can become part of the Citizens for Disclosure. We're going to have teams in every one of the 435 congressional districts. It's going to be extremely exciting. They can become members of the New Paradigm Institute. They can become subscribers for it. Just have them get in touch with us.
Will do.
Okay.
All righty, everybody. You know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Before you leave, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. It's a huge help. And also, if you're over on Instagram, be sure to follow the show at Julian Dorey Podcast, or also on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey. Both links are in the description below. Finally, if you'd like to catch up on our latest episodes, use the Julian Dorey Podcast playlist link in the description below. Thank you. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.